Welcome to the second edition of the Indian Hill School District's Technology Update. I'm Robert Reed, Technology Facilitator for the Indian Hill Middle and High Schools and your host for today's presentation. Our focus for this session is on the integration of technology in the Indian Hill High School Math Department. More specifically, we will highlight a special math project completed last spring. We have with us today several student representatives from the special math project. Our first student team is Tajar Varghese and Susanna Rani. Welcome to our show. Now let's talk specifically about the technology-related math project that initiated last spring. Suzanne, perhaps you can give us some background information.
Sure. Well, like you said, it happened last spring. Two math courses collaborated to get the students involved in a mass media project, which would include all the technology available here at Indian Hill, and also to get out into the community and do a little work there and see what we came up with.
Well, it certainly was a big undertaking and required cooperation among all the students and some flexible scheduling as well. How would you say the students responded to this type of project as compared to the other types of projects you have in math?
Well, actually this project was used instead of having a final exam, so I think all the students were happy about having the chance to do this. There might have been a little minor procrastination, but once we got over that and we realized that there was a task at hand, we got very involved. And I think the key to this entire project was to make it interesting for the students, because it was a math project and it could have been boring, but with the technology and interest that you could create, because we did have the freedom to choose whatever topic we wanted, it made the project very successful, I think.
Okay. Now we have actually two representative teams here today for our presentation, and you obviously represent our first team. Now I understand that your project focused on bacteria in fast food restaurants. Tajar, can you tell us a little bit about how you decided on that topic?
Well, at the time we were both in AP biology, and we'd been studying like cells and cultures, so we decided it'd be a good idea to take some samplings of some various local restaurants and present that with some statistical data.
And what process then did you use to carry out the assignment?
Well, during the day we went to various local restaurants at around lunchtime, and we took like a cotton swab and an agar gel plate, and we took the swab and we applied it to like the door handles, and we applied it to the gel plate, and then we waited a couple days, put it in an incubator, and then we counted the cells and then got some data out of that.
Okay. Sounds like it was not just a very simple project, but you had a number of steps involved in that process. Perhaps you could share with us a sampling of your project. Now, I think we'll have those things on the screen so that you could tell us.
Okay. All right. We can both do this. Let's see. All right. Basically what we did again was we took some bacterial samplings of some various restaurants, and what we did was we took a cotton swab, we applied it to the handle of the men and women's bathrooms, and we incubated it for about 2 to 3 days, and then we counted it, and then we got some interesting data from that. We took the swab and we applied it on like a Z formation across the door to make sure we got like almost all parts of the handle. And oh yeah, we need to specify that this was the handle when we were exiting the bathroom. All right. So we had a couple of hypotheses from before we started this experiment. We thought that the bigger the food chain, the less amount of maintenance that you could do for each of the bathrooms. So we thought there'd be more growth on each of the handles. We'd also thought that the male handles would have more bacteria growth on them because they probably wouldn't wash their hands as much. That's a generalization. And we thought that the field Zertal locations would have less bacterial counts because it's a less populated area than Kenwood. All right. As you can see from the data, we're not listing the names of the restaurants because we don't want to get into legal trouble. So restaurant A, we'll say, you can just look at the data, 60, some high counts for restaurant A, some pretty low counts for B and C, and some average counts for D and E. Okay, as you can see, if you look at these data, the males, especially in restaurant I and J, have considerably more bacteria counts than the females. We took the data and we graphed it, separating each restaurant and combining both the totals for male and female. And as you can see, certain restaurants had some really unsanitary practices in their bathroom. So our conclusions were this. We can't give out the names of the restaurants, but the bigger chains did have extremely more contamination on their handles. However, we also saw that one of our hypotheses were not true. Fields Ertl was in fact more contaminated. We'd have to do more research as to why, but probably because there's probably more traffic in that area around lunchtime. We encountered some problems over that data. Want to explain? All right. Some problems were the agar dishes, when we applied the swabs, were exposed for a short amount of time. So that could let some air bacteria get into it, which would not actually be from the handle and which would distort some of our data.
Also, there was a coat of foam on some of the agar gels, which made it difficult to see, in fact, what we were trying to count. So some of our calculations might have been a little bit wrong, but not that much. And also, some of the fungus is exposed to the agar gel, which would take up the place that the bacteria has room to grow. So that was another numerical problem.
All right, improvements are we need better gels next time, and we need to assign like a standard wiping procedure for each of the handles. And also we'll try to do this on the same day because different days could alter the data. Also, I felt I needed a more compatible partner. I wasn't able to work well with her.
As did I.
Yeah. The end.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all the work that you did, and certainly it was a different type of project than you had done in the past. Great presentation, and it makes all of us think in terms of fast food restaurants and how we, what we're encountering each time. So, thank you again. We appreciate you being with us. We do have another group of students here with us today, and I'd like to introduce John Damon and Samar Sharma. They're with us today talking about their particular project. Your project was a little bit different than our previous guest in that you were interested in how consumers were looking at using either paper or plastic bags at one of our local grocery store chains. Could you, Samar, maybe give us a little bit of a description on that process?
Yeah, well, we chose our topic because it pertains to everyone, because everyone goes grocery shopping. And what we did was we surveyed people and we observed whether if they chose paper or plastic bags and noted that down on a piece of paper.
Okay. Did you have a chance to interact with any of the customers during that time?
We asked why they chose the plastic bag or paper bag, and they told us some of their reasons.
Okay. Now, Frank, just like the other group, you also created a presentation for the math class, and you used a PowerPoint slide presentation as the others. Could you tell us how you went about using the information and creating this presentation?
Well, we made some graphs, and we also did the ages of the customers, and so we did some graphs on what on our data. We did like the numbers of paper and plastic, who chose which. Basically, we just tried to make our mathematical data fit with the computer program.
We're going to show show on the screen some samples of your PowerPoint presentation slide. Could you sort of describe what's occurring as our viewers see those?
On your screen is the PowerPoint slide presentation that we created, and here's our title page.
We collected data at Madeira's Kroger and on those 2 dates, and I guess we just charted on what people chose for their bags, which type of bag.
And our hypotheses are listed there. We thought people of all age groups were likely to have their groceries bagged in plastics, and this is based on our data. And the types of bags was illustrated by the amount of purchases.
Plastic bags are used more than paper ones. That was what we found at the checkout. We found men chose less paper than women, and I guess less men shopped also. The majority. That's
Here's our graph comparing plastic versus paper, and as you can see, plastic was used more than paper. And that's basically a description of what that graph just showed.
This graph shows the ages of the people shopping at the times we were at the store.
And their preference.
Of paper, plastic.
Another description of what that bag shows. And here
This
again.
This was the express lane, and we did it. We did it as a separate thing because you usually purchase less items. So.
Again, another description. And here's a regular lane and gender preferences.
We did an analysis of all our data by using some of the stuff we learned in math class. And that's just.
And basically, here is telling what all that math meant. And here are some of our conclusions. That we found that most bags were plastic at Kroger's.
And both sexes chose it over any other bags.
And all the bags, or all age groups chose it, plastic over paper.
Some of the people in the express lane didn't even use a bag because they had very little items.
And those are some of our reasons, and basically those ones are some interviews that we took, or quotes people gave us, and some reasons for using those plastic bags over paper.
And plastic's easier to store. You can carry more plastic bags. They're easier to recycle. And people feel guilty throwing away paper bags.
And those are some of our problems we encountered.
Some of the cashiers had a tendency just to grab the plastic bag without asking the customer. Some of the customers didn't have a preference and allowed the cashier to choose for them. And plastic bags are cheaper than paper bags, so the store wants the people to give out plastic bags. If we were to do it over, those are just some of the things that we would change.
We would probably use a larger sample population, surveying more than one store. We'd survey, and we would take data in more than one time of day. And that's our thanks to our teachers during this project, which was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That obviously you spent a lot of time and effort going through, and either, I'm not sure whether you worked, how much you did during the day, but in the evenings at the local grocery stores doing that sample. But I understand that both of you are involved in another aspect of our school here, that you're involved in the technology club. And was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your club and some of the involvements.
Yeah, our club is composed of 3 major committees. The video committee that produces programs like the one we are doing now, and remote programs of sports, drama, and musical performances. There's also the robotics committee, which works all year toward the competition, the National Robotics Contest in April. Our teams have performed quite well over the year. And finally, the computer committee is the one where the students volunteer to serve as computer tutors and assistants in the open labs, as well as assisting during the school day when they're available. So that's pretty much.
Well, sounds like a neat club to be in. I know when I was in school we didn't have anything quite like that, but it does sound very neat. But I'd like to thank you for sharing your experiences and your project with us today. I'd like to thank all of the student members for participating in our technology update presentation today. We'll certainly look forward to other exciting projects in the future. Before we leave today, I would like to remind you of our Cyber Studio initiative. This program allows the Indian Hill School District community members to participate in both computer classes and open labs. Please take note of the remaining Cyber Studio course offerings and open lab periods for the first semester as they appear on your screen. Don't worry, however, if you miss the information, the presentation will be repeated throughout the next week. Additional course offerings will be scheduled for the second semester, so watch for information being distributed through the various Indian Hill School District publications in the weeks to follow. Due to the popularity of our courses, our internet classes are all filled and only one word processing section remains available. This concludes our second edition of the Indian Hill Schools Technology Update. Look for us on a regular basis throughout the school year. Each edition will focus on some current aspect of educational technology in the Indian Hill Exempted Village School District. Special thanks to all our staff and students on both sides of the camera for making this presentation possible. See you next time, and have a great day.